Hey everyone, I hope you're doing really well and that you're having a good week so far. I want to take a little bit of time today just to talk to you about two new things that we're adding to make Exercism more financially sustainable, which is a hot topic for me right now, as those of you that are around in the Exercism ecosystem will know. The second of these I think is going to be particularly exciting for you, which is the launch of Exercism Insiders. I'm going to be telling you a little bit about that. And also right at the end, I'm announcing two features that are only going to be available to early adopters as part of that as well. So make sure you stick around all the way to the end so that you can find out about those. So before we dig into what's new and what's coming, I want to talk, firstly, give a little bit of background. So when Katrina first created Exercism 10 years ago, she had absolutely zero desire for it to be turned into any sort of big or popular product. It was simply a platform that she was using, that she could use with her students. But by, I guess, a joyous accident, it became a thing. In fact, really, really quickly, it absolutely took off. It was featured all over the place in Wired. We had hundreds of thousands of visitors within the first few months. It was crazy. And now, 10 years later, we have 1 million visitors a month, over 1.5 million users that are working away. We've had hundreds of thousands of pieces of automated feedback given. We just have so much usage. It's so alive. There's been so much community stuff we've been adding recently, all of the streaming. We've done really, really well, but on a really small budget. And in fact, in the 8 years of Exercism up to the launch of V3, we spent under $500,000 in total. So that's less than $60,000 a year building and hosting and managing this whole platform. During that time, we rebuilt the platform twice from scratch. We created 65 programming languages. We built a whole automated feedback system, a whole mentoring system. As I said before, we've given automated feedback to, I think, 800,000 times, about 500,000 of which were in the last year alone. So we've done a huge amount on very, very little budget. And a big part of the reason for that is obviously open source. The fact that we're open source, the fact that thousands of people have contributed to Exercism, and a few hundred especially wonderful folks have done the work of building out and maintaining the tracks and the content. But with the launch of V3 and the success of that, we hit a point where we actually needed a full-time team working on Exercism to keep it functioning. And we also needed more money to cover server costs. Our server costs alone are $5,000-$6,000 a month now. And we were given an incredibly generous donation of $500,000 at this time, which meant that we could hire a small team to do this and we could pay for server costs and other things. So we hired Aaron to do the front end work, Jonathan to grow and manage the community side, and Loretta to be working on fundraising and building partnerships for us. And the result of that work's actually been pretty amazing. So day-to-day usage of the site has grown by 250% in the last 6 months alone. We've added a load of new automated feedback, mentoring features, the representation stuff you've probably seen. That's been just an amazing level up in what we're doing. We've also been working on the community side. We've added live streaming. We've got live streaming now on Twitch on a daily basis by the community. We've got a pretty vibrant forum. Our new Discord server's like 2 weeks old, and that's been really vibrant and exciting as well. We've increased our monthly donations from, which was basically zero, sort of 6 months ago, the end of last year. Almost no one was donating. If you were, thank you, but very few people were. In January and February this year, we had over $6,000 a month in donations. So that's been like a huge step up as well. So all of these different areas, the building stuff on the website, the working on fundraising partnerships, and also the community work, they've all been going well. But we found it really hard to get companies to support us. We had hoped we were going to get companies to support us via their CSR, their corporate social responsibility budgets. But that's just gone less well. And well, having $6,000 or pounds a month in January or February is brilliant. It's actually only like 1/5 of what we need to be able to survive. And the majority of the donations we've been receiving as well are one-off gifts, which I'm still obviously incredibly grateful for, but they're not recurring subscriptions. They're not monthly recurring support. So there's no guarantee that next month we'll get the same thing. So really, we're running out of time to be sustainable with our current team. And without that team, we don't have the resources to actually run Exercism. And as much as I wish there were 400 hours in the week where I could do lots of things and be on top of stuff without us having to spend money, that's not reality, and I can't. And the team have no more hours in the day than what they put in as well. So we need to find a way to be able to pay for the team, pay for staff, pay for our servers. And we need to be able to do that quickly in the next few months, really. But also, I don't just want to be covering our costs and sort of bouncing along the bottom in terms of what we can achieve. I want Exercism to grow. And those of you that have spent time talking to me over the last few years, and the last maybe couple of years in particular, know all of the ideas and the hopes and the ambitions that I have for Exercism. The stuff that I think we can do that would just be amazing and groundbreaking and just revolutionary in terms of coding education. But to do that, we need a larger team than what we have. And we also need to be able to pay competitive salaries to hire that team. So we need a way to more fundamentally fix our financial situation. And there's two things that we're going to try to do this. The first is that we're going to be adding sponsorship to the site. So we're going to be seeking out partners who we feel offer really great products and services to developers, and we're going to invite them to sponsor things like tracks, and also sponsor different areas, technical areas of the site. So we might have someone that sponsors our emails or sponsors our infrastructure or maybe sponsors our automated feedback. And sponsorship's going to be a long-term thing. Companies are going to need to commit probably for a minimum of 12 months. And we want to treat these things as partnerships. We want them to be win-win for both sides. And so there's lots of things I think we can do to do that I think can be really positive. So there's lots of things like co-creating really great content, getting companies to support us, and also build good educational content with us, help raise their brand in terms of doing that. But, you know, a lot of these big companies have got really senior experienced developers, core contributors to many programming languages. And it'd be great to get those people making content with us, maybe interviewing some of those senior people. I don't mind if they want to talk about what they do at work, as long as there's a lot of content there that's also just interesting at that core level. And I also want to get them offering things like discounts and free trials to our power users, which I'm going to talk a bit more about in a minute as well. So I want to clarify there's a few things that we're not going to be doing. This isn't advertising in a sort of pay-per-click sort of world. We're not going to be adding any tracking stuff onto the website, sharing people's details, nothing at all like that. We're purely looking for organizations who want to support free education, support open source, support grassroots initiatives in tech like ours, which actually are what makes a lot of the tech ecosystem work. And in exchange for them supporting that and helping us, we want to encourage our users, encourage you to at least take a look at their products and see if you think they're useful or not. So I hope that also many of these organizations are going to want to choose to donate to Exercism via their corporate social responsibility arms as well. That seems like a good way of sort of killing two birds with one stone. I have no idea if that's an entirely British and weird sounding phrase to you all. But if we can get, strategic partnerships and also donations via corporate social responsibility, that feels like a massive win-win. So we will see. We've started reaching out to companies this week. We've already had a couple of enthusiastic responses from companies and setting up meetings with those people. So that I feel positive about it. As an interlude here, I think I just want to say as well, if you work for a company that offers products or services to developers, maybe they'd be interested in sponsoring Exercism. If you could make an introduction to us, put us in touch with a relevant person, or maybe even just like anonymously tell us who we should be approaching, that would be huge. So please email Loretta. I'll put her email address in the description below, and we can be in touch with you and work out the best way to coordinate this. I started off like a bit dubious about all of this. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this, but actually now as time's gone on, I feel really excited by it. And I think these sorts of partnerships actually could be a real level up for Exercism in general, provide some just great extra benefits for you, for all our members, and really help. cement the financial future of Exercism a little bit. So that's the first part. The second part is sort of the other end of the thing. It's focused much more on people that are contributing and giving to Exercism, and it's something that I've been really, really excited about for ages, and that's Exercism Insiders. For those of you that have hung out in the Exercism community for a while, you'll have heard me talking about this. If you've been on some of the weekly community calls, then you will have probably heard a lot of detail about it. But Exercism Insiders is going to be effectively a rewards program for people who are actively supporting Exercism. We're going to be giving you more behind the scenes access to what happens, more involvement in the future of Exercism. We're also going to be adding like fun features to the site. I'm going to talk about that a bit more in a minute. And also the companies that we've just been talking about that are going to be sponsoring us, we're going to be asking them to offer free trials or discounted plans to our insiders, a bit like things like the GitHub Education Pack or other sort of sponsorship things like that out there. So to be a member of Exercism Insiders, the general rule is that you need to be actively supporting Exercism in some way. That could mean that you've been actively contributing to our code base. You could be actively mentoring on the site, or you've made a recent donation, or you're a recurring donor. And we're still finalizing some of the details about this, but my thinking is loosely that every time that you earn a certain amount of reputation, or every time you make a donation, that effectively is going to like extend your access by 30 days from that point. If you're a regular donor or a regular contributor, then we'll also have a bit more leeway around that, like more of a grace period. So if you've not been around for the last 30 days, but you contributed for the 9 months previously, you're not going to lose access to Exercism Insiders just because of that. I know that life comes in ebbs and flows, and sometimes people have time to contribute and sometimes they don't. And we're also going to be giving lifelong membership for people who have made really big contributions in the past, either financial contributions, or if you've been a track maintainer or a super mentor or something like that. Even if you're not currently active, we're going to be giving you access to Exercism Insiders forever. So there's going to be a few other small fun things. Insiders will also give you a badge that appears next to your name on the website. So all around the website, wherever your name appears on your profile, or if you're mentoring or receiving mentoring on a community solution, you're going to get a little sort of, I haven't worked out what yet, but a little star badge of some description that says you are an insider. We're also going to give you flair on the forum, so your avatar on the forum will get a little bit of flair, and also there's going to be a specific Discord role, which you'll get as well, and that's going to give you access to special private channels, and those are going to be the channels that I hang out in more. Katrina's going to be hanging out in that as well. I'm hoping as well the rest of the staff are going to choose to spend some time hanging out in those channels, so you can interact with all of us and just chat about Exercism and hang out with us all a little bit more as well. It also means that you'll be able to come on things like community calls. You'll be able to attend and actively participate in those rather than just like watching them on YouTube or something. And it's also going to give you more, as I said, access to behind the scene vlogs and interviews. We're going to do some interview series explaining what we're doing at Exercism on a sort of more weekly basis. Katrina and I are going to do a series on the history of Exercism. Eric and I are going to do some deep dives into some of the tech of Exercism and how things work. Stuff that I just think is going to be fun and interesting, hopefully, for you, and we can have some fun making. It's not going to take, hopefully, too much time. I don't want to add more work to us, obviously, but I think it would be a nice thing to do to really bring you on the journey. We're also looking at other things like prioritizing questions from insiders on the Ask Me Anything interviews that we've been hosting. If you've not checked those out, check them out on YouTube. We've got some amazing creators of programming languages that we've been talking to. So yeah, maybe prioritizing questions from insiders and those as well. So basically, if you are part of what makes Exercism a success, if you are helping us and supporting us and being part of the reason we exist and the reason Exercism is so popular, then we want you to be a real part of what we're doing. We want to celebrate with you. We want to bring you along on the ride as much as we can. So that's Exercism Insiders. I mentioned at the beginning that we've got two special features. So the first of those features is that we're adding dark mode. Now, I know this is something that a lot of you have been wanting forever, and it's finally here. We're going to be launching it at the same time as Insiders, and it's only going to be available to Insiders for the first 3 months. After that, we're going to make it available for everyone. But if you would like a sort of sneak preview of this and help us smooth out a few of the rough edges maybe, as an insider, you'll be able to get dark mode for the first 3 months. So if you want access to that, go earn some reputation by contributing or mentoring, sign up as a regular donor, and you'll be able to get dark mode when we launch it at the end of this month. The second feature is something that we would describe in the UK as Marmite. And again, this probably isn't a phrase that jumps across the Atlantic or into international waters, but Marmite means that you'll either love it or hate it. There was a series of adverts for years, probably decades, about a yeast-based spread. I can't remember what Americans call it, but we call it Marmite anyway. And the whole of the campaign, marketing campaign, was about you either love it or hate it. So this feature is going to be Marmite. And that is that we're going to be introducing ChatGPT into the site, so that if you get stuck on an exercise, you can ask it for help. And when you finish an exercise, you'll be able to get automated feedback from ChatGPT as well. We've been experimenting with this just on and off for the last few weeks. And my summary is that it's been awesome about half the time and really useful and interesting. And it's been totally useless, often entirely wrong, the other half. So it's definitely not a production feature that we're going to be adding, and it's not something we would want to put on the site just for anyone to use, because I think there's a lot of negative sides of education usage of it right now. But it is fun, and so that's what we're treating it like. We're treating it as a fun feature, and it's good to experiment with. It's interesting to see how it's evolving, and we're going to do a little bit of work on trying to refine it as well. Maybe we have an open source project around building some refined stuff around this. But because of this, it's going to be a insiders only feature for the foreseeable future. So we're not planning on rolling this out to everyone until it's a lot more mature as a technology. But for the month of May, so the first month that we're going to be launching this, only people who are insiders on the insiders launch day are going to get access. So this really is a totally exclusive thing for 30 days for anyone that has helped Exercism before we launched Insiders. So if you want to play with this, you need to have earned your Insiders access beforehand. We're also going to be adding a special badge as well for people who have supported us up to this point before we launched Insiders. And that little tag that I mentioned next to your name, if you were a supporter before this point, that's going to permanently reflect that as well. It'll probably be a slightly shinier colour or something that says that you were one of our earliest supporters. So if you've contributed in the past, mentored in the past, if you've made a substantial donation up to this point, or you are a regular donator at the point that we turn Insiders on, then we're going to be giving you early access to this, and we're going to be thanking you for all of history, as long as Exercism lasts for that. It's a lot of information I've just given you. I hope that's been clear. So we're launching a landing page for this, I think, next week. That's going to have the exact details on, and it will have like your pending insider status. So are you an insider? Are you going to get access? If you are not sure or you don't want to wait for that, as I've said before, you can make a donation that will guarantee you access. It would also be amazing to see some donations rolling in as part of this. Please email us as well to let us know if you've made a donation because of this, or that this has encouraged that. That would be really helpful for us to understand. So if you're able to support us, I hope that actually just because you want to support Exercism is a good enough motivation. But if you want these features as well, that'd be a great thing to do. I also just want to clarify that none of the educational features on the site are going to get walled off behind Insiders. Insiders is purely going to be fun features, maybe some little extra UI fun things, and behind the scenes access. It's not going to be extra educational content. It's not going to be production ready features. It's not going to be educational features. So if you can't afford the time or the money to access Insiders, you're not going to get a worse educational experience at Exercism as a result. That's really important to me personally. That's a really important red line for us not to cross Exercism. We really, it's essential to us that Exercism is providing free education to people that need it. But there are lots of people who use Exercism day to day. Probably, I would say the majority of people who earn a lot more money than I do, who can afford to donate to Exercism, either a bit of time or a bit of money. And so I think I hope that's a good thing for you to spend a bit of your money or time doing, but also I think I just want to reward that and thank that with some of these fun features and some other things as well. So have that distinction clear. Education side is free, fun, interesting, behind the scenes, join the journey side. That's all. And exclusive discounts. That's all like part of Insiders. So sponsorship and Insiders, those are the two things I wanted to tell you about. I really hope through these two things, both through company support and through individual support, we're going to be able to give ourselves a more sustainable financial base and start to see a future where we can thrive, where we can start to build out some of the really exciting features and ideas that we've got, where we can help 10 times more people than the amount that we're helping now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this has been a fun video. I hope you're excited, especially about Insiders. I really am. I'll be releasing like an official launch video with more information in over the coming week or two. So I'm looking forward to telling you more about stuff when I do that. In the meantime, have a great day, and I hope to see you on our new Discord server. If you've not checked that out yet, please do check that out, or on the forums as well, or leave me a comment below. Tell me what you think. Please be nice. Yeah, also check out all of the other videos we've been putting out on YouTube. There's loads. Eric's been doing loads of new ones for the brief introduction series. Obviously, I've done some of the interviews, which are great. We have Biana, creator of C++ recently. We've got Simon, creator of Haskell, coming up in a couple of weeks. Really, really great interviews. So do check those out if you've not watched those already. That's me done. Have a great day. Thanks.